What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It's the Hobby with Cage, episode 28, the bear case for the hobby. And if you did not tune into the last one, check it out. This is kind of a two-part series. Episode 27 was the bull case for the hobby. I got to tell you, I'm just going to jump right into it. You ever get interrupted like in the middle of something? You know, it was going so good. Oh, I'll share with you guys because you've been with me over 1,000 episodes now. So I'll share. I was about 10 minutes into recording this episode and I got a phone call. I had to pick it up. And I am not good enough yet with editing and all the other stuff that I am able to, stop there 10 minutes in and then now pick it up and then, Frankenstein piece together those two episodes and all that. I mean, it's just more than I even really wanted to do. So I'm starting over. And it's 10 minutes. I'm going to see if I can't capture that lightning in a bottle again. I mean, I was on a roll, man. All right, we're going to capture it again, I promise. But let me start again. I'm going to say this. There are some people who are going to hear that I've done a two-part segment on the hobby, the bull case and the bear case for the hobby, and be like, what the hell do you need that for? It's a hobby. It's, I buy the cards I like. I collect what I like, and, I'm a collector, and, okay. No one's ever going to tell you how to hobby, right? There's no right or wrong way to do it. You do whatever you want to do. And I think that some of those collectors might even, I don't want to say want a bear market. They want price drops, certainly, because it's easier for them to collect. It's easier for them to open wax. So some of the stuff that I say today that are kind of my bear case for the industry, the hobby moving forward, might actually be welcome signs to people who have been here for a while. So please don't take it as me like preaching, like, oh, this is bad. This is bad for the hobby. There is no broad stroke here. The purpose that I was trying to get at with these two episodes is really just there is no kind of buy side, sell side analysis for the hobby like there is for stocks and that kind of stuff. And, there are clearly things that are good and there are clearly things that I think are bearish and give me a bearish outlook for the hobby overall. And I will say this, as I started to write notes, I stopped because there were too many and I can't do like a 4-hour episode. And it was a lot easier for me to get pen to paper on the bearish side. And maybe that's my own personal bias. Maybe that's my own personal, experience over the last couple of years of the hobby, writing it up and washing it down. Or maybe it's because I have been through this. Maybe it's because I collected in the 80s and I remember the last kind of boom cycle like this, where we went from one set of cards to with one sport really to 3 sets to 5 sets to multiple sports to 20 releases a year with glossy stuff and shiny stuff and refractory stuff, and Topps putting out multiple sets to compete with Upper Deck and Fleer, and I mean just all different companies. And I saw what amounts to a significant amount of cardboard ultimately be worthless. I have a basement full of it still. So maybe I see a lot of the same cyclical tendencies here, and that is, lead off of the bear case. People are asking, are we in a junk wax here? I did an episode or 7 about that also. Junk slab era, a junk PSA 10 era. There's lots of junk, but I would say we start out talking about junk and junk era. The calling card for that era, the one that pops into everyone's mind as far as production numbers, is the Ken Griffey Jr. 89 Upper Deck card. And even though in perfect condition, it's something that has significant value, the production numbers on that, if you were to just, Google it, anywhere from $1 million to $2 million. Some people say $1 million. Some people say with the factory sets, it's more. Some people say, that there were additional ones printed. I've gone through this. But to hear 1 million cards is something we hadn't seen and, never saw again. That is until Topps Series 1 this year, where the base cards have a print run of about 1.2 million cards. And that's a significant number. I did a post about the print run. You can see it on my page, a reel about Topps Series 2 and the production numbers on those. And if you're looking for an Anthony Volpe rookie, just how many of them there are. But the key to it is twofold and why it's bearish. Number one, I know we have more people in the hobby than we had in 2018, right? We probably have less than we had last year because I think a lot of people have left, but the printing presses haven't stopped, and we have production numbers on these things that triple what they were just 5 years ago. I don't know if that's going to continue, and it leads to an interesting kind of observation that I'll make shortly. But the key here is we want more new people coming in. So let's say you're a new person coming in and you're now buying a Topps product, whether it's Series 1 or Series 2, and the production is 3 times as much as it was 5-6 years ago. Okay, people aren't really trying to, make money per se on a base from Topps Series 1 or Series 2, right? Your Anthony Volpe base rookie card is not going to get you rich, but there are people who might want the Jordan Walker gold, just like they wanted a Mike Trout gold. And the production numbers of those golds hasn't really changed that much. Those are printed based on the year. So Mike Trout's gold rookie has 2011 of them in his Topps update. Jordan Walker, Anthony Volpe, they have 2023, basically the same. But the amount of product being produced overall is significantly more, triple what it was 5 years ago. So what that means is that there's 3 times as much product for you to have to rip open to find one of those gold cards. It means that the return on what you're paying, and in some cases you're paying more now for that product, the return on what you're paying is less. So here you are, we want to get new people in, and new people open up a box of Topps, and they're not hitting at anywhere near the same rate a good card as they were. They're not hitting the same type of value. They're getting manufactured patches. And I think that's a turnoff. And it's not just Topps, right? It's Panini they've killed products. Just look at Select. It's almost an untouchable product with so many damn parallels. And they added another parallel to football in this year's product. I think if you gave me like a couple minutes, I would be hard pressed to think of an animal in the jungle that doesn't have a parallel in some sort of a Panini product. We'd have to get into fictional, like I think they did dragons. I don't know. We'd have to get into like games, like we'd have to have wait. I can't come up with a parallel that Panini doesn't have. That's it. I just have to stop. And then beyond that, right? Just the crazy parallels. So that, is something rare? Is it numbered? Is it rare? I mean, there's so many versions of numbered fast breaks and no huddles and all kinds of crap. Even your one of ones. I mean, I did an analysis of Flawless, right? Trevor Lawrence, right? Trevor Lawrence has over 1,000 one-of-one rookie cards. That's just insane, right? That's overproduction. It's craziness, and it's going to be very difficult for any of that to, maintain any of its value. It's sort of a junk wax on repeat, and the bearishness of that is anybody who's looking from the outside looking in, thinking, oh, maybe this is something I could be interested in. First of all, it's very confusing. I've seen 2 Desmond Ritter one-of-one selects hit in the last week that I thought were the same card. Denny's Cards pulled one, and then Backyard Breaks pulled one. It looked like exactly the same card and the same product. And it's not, though. It's even someone like me who's been doing this for decades. It's like, wait, what happened there? But it's not. It's just there's so many one-of-ones that it's even hard to tell the one-of-ones apart. Hard to understand, hard to come in, and hard to figure out what is the right thing to buy, if any. And then you have this, right? Remember, again, outside looking in. I've seen this. I remember when it was hard to find product. I do. I remember it was hard to find product. And this time around, I don't know if everybody remembers, but you used to be able to go to Target and buy a Prism Blaster, right? Just a regular blaster. It was $19.99. That was Prism Blaster price, all right? Then you could not find one at Target because people were shooting each other over Pokemon cards in Target parking lots, and people were, getting violent, and people were bribing, store managers, and those blasters all of a sudden were $70 a blaster on the secondary market if you could find them for Prism. Well, here's what happened. More of them are made, less value in the actual boxes, and they raised the price. They're $29.99 now. So the price is up 50%. And what are you seeing? You're seeing more of it in stock. As a matter of fact, recently I'm starting to see certain products being marked down. Now, bear case for the hobby. The more pictures you see on Instagram or Twitter of a stocked shelf at Target or Walmart, instead of what we saw 2 years ago, which was an empty shelf or all of the product in someone's cart, it's now a fully stocked shelf without one being taken, and somebody holding up the $16.99, $17.99 sticker markdown. Bear case for the hobby, right? Because what that's showing is that the companies in the hobby are reactive, right? They had the cards, the demand came in, the reaction they had was, okay, we're going to raise the price and we're going to make it a worse product. Well, now people realize that they're not getting $30 worth of value in there. They don't want it anymore. It sits on the shelf and it's got to be marked down. It's a bad look. Just a bad look. And I mean, listen, we have all kinds of fun stuff on here. And just the door keeps opening and closing. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's pretty fun. But so that's product and overproduction. Next one, price bubble, lack of understanding, lack of clarity on it. You hear this all the time. Oh, it's a bubble. Right now, as it stands, is a very different time in the hobby than it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, you could throw a dart at something and it was probably going to go up because there was this huge amount of people, a rush of people coming in and trying to just grab anything. Zion rookie cards, Luka, it didn't make a difference, right? It was like a rising tide. Well, now the prices are coming down and it's almost like, the rats jumping off the ship. And it's funny. I don't want to say that. I don't want to call people rats. I don't want to cast aspersions, but it's funny, bearish, bullish, right? I would say one of the bearish signs, and this is not to cast an aspersion, one of the things that's tough about the hobby itself is that the best champions of the hobby, the collectors, the people who have been here for a long time, are usually quiet. A lot of them like the hobby the way that it was. They don't like a lot of loudness. They don't like the brashness. They don't like the talking heads. They just enjoyed buying their cards, collecting their cards, trading their cards. But when you're quiet, it also doesn't have the ability to kind of like have a spark and boom, have the whole thing explode the way that I think a lot of companies want, right? Especially now with all the money being poured in. Instead, it's the new investors who are louder. It's those, the investors, the flip life guys, the people who came in and wanted to vlog and make content and be loud and crazy about it. Those are the folks that are loud, and those are the folks that people see. And let's talk about that content for a second, right? Because while there is good collecting content out there, it's not really pushed. It's not really something that the companies are pushing, not really something that the money is pushing. No, instead you see the same people all the time. And I think content, I'm guilty of it myself every now and again. Content is lazy. A lot of the hobby content is lazy, right? Now, the gotcha stuff, it serves a purpose. I talked about this during the bear case. I liked some of that content. We talked about content being bullish in episode 27. And I like the collectors who are out there trying to defend the hobby, protect the hobby, you name it. But it's usually not very welcoming type of stuff for someone who's new and coming in. Think about that for a second. I'm not casting aspersions, again, about any of these guys. I think everybody serves a good purpose. But if you are someone who's thinking about rejoining the hobby because nostalgia is going to bring you back in. You collected as a kid. You want to collect with your family, with your son, with a nephew. You haven't been in the hobby and you're coming into the hobby now. You start watching some content. All right. And you watch some of the gotcha content, and it's talking about how the whole system is a fraud. It's talking about how the common man can't get a fair shake. It's talking about how this one's doing this and that one's doing that. Why would you come in? Right? So that's the double-edged sword. I understand, and I talked about it in my bullish case. I understand why that content is necessary, why that content is good for the people in the hobby to be protected. It's almost watchdoggy, but it also can turn off new participants, right? The loudest content, I love Jeff Wilson. He's a good guy. But the loudest content, what I would say about it is it's consistently inconsistent. All right? Now, let me explain because that sounds confusing. I remember Jeff saying, buy modern. Nope. Don't buy mod. Buy the goats, right? The goats are the ones you got to buy. But now vintage is not really rare. So stay away from vintage and get back in the modern. I'm trading for this Steph Curry now. Oh, now buy soccer. It's just, there's no continuity in it, right? It's just I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. And it's interesting, right? Because the content that's out there, it's really in like, there's some good stuff in niche areas. The wrestling space has some really good content, right? People who are educated about wrestling. But what I find about the hobby in and of itself, right? I thought about this a lot because here I am doing a bear case and a bull case for the hobby. And what made me think about it was, I talk about this in episode 27 here, but when I did the bull case, I was researching some stocks. And if you just type in a stock, you can get why this stock is a good buy right next to why this stock is a bad buy. And someone's going to give you analysis of the fundamentals of that stock, right? But here I am doing an overall bear or bull case for the market overall. And the market overall is a lot of stuff, a lot of sports, a lot of cards, modern, vintage, decades worth of stuff. And there's no motley fool doing, an analysis of 50 years of the stock market. They're doing individual stocks. That's the difference here, right? There's very little content out there that people even want to listen to that are going to talk about the hobby overall. 40 years of this modern. There are people who focus on vintage. There are people who focus on wrestling cards. There are people who do a lot of breaks. And there are people who focus on UFC. There are people who focus on, these are the 5 things you're going to make you money. There are vlogs. There are, how to flip from this penny up to a Michael Jordan rookie card. Yeah, believe that. But what I find is that we don't have, all right, here's overall, here's education. Here's, I guess if I had all the time and a budget, here's a hobby 101, right? I'd have somebody doing kind of like content on, oh, so you're new to the hobby? All right, well, here are some companies that you should know. Here are some places you should go to research. Here's a starting point. Here's a history of it. Sort of, an educational. Now, that's not for everybody, right? But I think it's something that probably would be helpful. Anyway, I digress because I have one more chapter of the content. And, we talk about lazy. We talk about, not having overall content there being a bear case. I think the biggest bear case in content is the heel turn that we're seeing now, which seems to be very, very easy and just a slippery slope into gambling. I love me some Seablez with or without a shirt. The man knows I love him. He's in my news almost every week. And I think as I record this last night, he won $15,000 betting baseball and went from Italy to Mykonos. I mean, the dude's living a life. He's got it all. But recently, he moved from cards to sports betting, and I'm seeing a lot of that. And it has other implications for the space. It just does, whether we want to admit it or not, because for lack of a better way of saying it, I think the biggest bear indicator for the hobby is that the majority of the money coming in, I believe, the new money coming in, the younger money coming in, is because it's pretty much an unregulated casino of breakers. And I think breaking can be viewed as the next frontier here. And you can see the content around breaking. You can see the folks who break. There are bounties upon bounties upon bounties. I think Backyard just announced a bounty for Cade Cunningham, Flawless Logo Man 101, like $125,000. There's Pull the Drew Jones, and we'll do this. Break here, and let's find the triple Logo Man. It is put your money in the machine, spin, let's hope you hit something. That's breaking. And I'm not going to crap on it. People love it, right? People enjoy it. People enjoy that, that rush, that gamble. It's sort of like, opening a box yourself and hoping that you hit something big in it. And rarely do you do that. But it truly is what I believe the big money companies are moving into. And some people might call that a bull case, right? I personally don't. I think that we're going to see, internal regulation around it. You're starting to see it already with eBay come out and, say who can and can't sell brake spots. I also think with braking being the place for the big money, um, it's going to be interesting to see what happens during this year about who can break on what platform and whether or not you're only be able to get product if you break on this platform and you name it. There was a, there's, it's going to be interesting to see what happens of the next chapter in the card saga is, after you had Attack of the Content Clones, now you have, the return of the break wars. It's going to be interesting. It really is. What happens, what type of what type of limitations are going to be put on people who want to break, who want to get who want to get the an allocation and be able to break that stuff, where they can and can't sell it and how. It's going to be very interesting. The final bear case for the hobby, it also reminds me a lot of when I collected as a kid. And the scary thing for me is a lot of people came in and spent some money in the hobby. They did. They came in and spent some money in the hobby the last couple of years, whether they were brought in because an influencer brought them in, whether it was a Gary V type of thing, whether it was COVID and they were stuck at home and nostalgia brought them into cards and they started looking through their collection again and fell back in love with it or whatever it was. The vast majority of those people who were investing at the time or putting their money in or coming back in and buying were overpaying for Luka and Trey and Zion and Ja, and they're all down. And I believe that those new people who would have been someone who could tell their neighbor at a barbecue this summer about the awesomeness of cards and the awesomeness of the hobby and all the bull scenario, the bull case, the positive, the optimism. I think instead what you're going to see is those people who came in instead telling a very different story than the quiet collectors who have been here for a long time. The nerds like me who have cards whose PSA slabs are so old that people think they're fake, or who have binders filled with their 1995 metal cards from the first year of metal that I was getting in drugstores. My Eddie Jones collection. Nerds. Instead, what you're going to have are those people who came in and I don't know, I don't know if they thought they were going to be getting rich or they just thought, all right, I'm going to buy Zion now. I'm going to buy Ja. And they bought them high and are now sitting there with cards that are worth significantly less than what they bought them for. Think of the story that those folks are going to tell their neighbors at the barbecue, right? And it reminds me of the 90s where those same stories were being told by people about Greg Jeffries after he came up in 1988 and everybody knew he was a can't miss player for the Mets, and his score rookie card came out and Upper Deck was actually contemplating putting him as the number one card instead of Ken Griffey, or Jerome Walton, who actually won the Rookie of the Year in 1989. And I remember trading away my Griffey cards for him, or Todd Van Poppel. Some of the older collectors will remember him. Scott Erickson. I remember looking for Scott Erickson's Upper Deck cards, or Jim Jackson, or Rick Myrer, or whoever it may be in the early 90s that people were searching for and they were can't miss, and they missed. And I'm not saying, Zion is a miss right now, or Ja is a miss, or Luka may go on and win 20 MVPs and 15 championships. You never know. The point here and the bear case for it is a lot of times hobbies grow on the back of word of mouth, positivity, good stories being told. Oh, I ate at that pizzeria. You should try it. The grandma's pie is fantastic. Or, my broker is great. I use Edward Jones. Here's his name. Here's his card. You should go use him too. He's going to give you some great tips and some advice. Oh, I bought Bitcoin. Or it's word of mouth. It's, hey, I did this. Hey, you should do this. You should try this. Well, a lot of people who came into the hobby, this boom that we had in the hobby in the last couple of years, are telling a sad story. I believe. Now that's not everybody. I mean, a lot of people came into the hobby the last couple of years and have great stories to tell. And I want to make sure, I'm not being too closed-minded on this. The hobby community, I still believe, is like none other. But people don't just come in and boom, there's a great hobby community, a Facebook group, whatever it is. They come in, they do some research. For the most part, they're on their own in the beginning. And then, if they spend enough time, they find their, hobby community. Maybe they figure out what it is they like. A lot of people who came in the last couple of years had a very different trajectory. They came in and they bought cards. Maybe some folks listening to this would say that's their own fault. They didn't do their research. They weren't buying for the right reason. They weren't buying Zion because they love Zion. They're buying Zion because somebody told them to buy Zion. Or they're buying Zion because they thought they were going to buy it at $50 and sell it for $100. And they have no one to blame but themselves. All fair, all valid, but still all a bear case for the hobby, because it's hard to convince the next person to come in when their neighbor, their friend, their cousin that they're talking to didn't have a great experience in the hobby. So that's just, a couple of little fun little bear case, for the hobby. There are so many other ones, but what I would say on that is a lot of the story is still unwritten, right? It remains to be seen what Fanatics is going to do, right? It remains to be seen whether or not their merger or buyout of PWCC is a good or a bad thing, because right now nothing has changed. We talked about competition. We talked about good stuff. Even though we are talking about bull and bear case, I give you what my opinion is. I'm going to hold judgment on a lot of these things, and maybe we'll revisit the bull and bear case in a couple months. Maybe we'll come back after National and we could talk about, people's feelings there. Maybe we'll come back later in the year and kind of revisit the bull and the bear case after some of these companies have done some things during the course of the year. Let me know what you think. Let me know what makes you bearish about the hobby. We had some great comments on the bullish episode. Let me know whether or not you personally are bullish or bearish. And the only thing I'll end with here is this. I'm going to be doing a Coffee with Cage episode on Friday. That is Friday the 23rd. So basically 2 days from now, but I don't know when you're going to listen to this. The 23rd, 6 p.m. Eastern time. It will be on YouTube, but I am going to be trying something out here. Okay. I love when you guys ask questions. I want to do giveaways. I don't really know if I have stuff to sell. Maybe I'll find some stuff to sell by then. But I can go on Drip and basically simulcast to YouTube. So if you just want to watch on YouTube as usual, YouTube Live, great. I'll be there, YouTube Live, June 23rd at 6 p.m. If, however, you want to come on Drip and be there in my stream for giveaways, I'm going to give away some cards. Who knows? Who knows what I'm going to give away? May I have some boxes to open? I have no idea. I got some fun stuff. You guys know the basement has some craziness in it. But if you're on Drip, you can come on in, and I'm going to do some giveaways. You get a question, I ask, and I'm going to give you something. We're going to have some fun. We're going to switch up the Coffee with Cage. We'll do it on Drip, and everybody gets a little bit of a reward. So if you haven't signed up for Drip, sign up for it now. I have a code, I think. I can send it to you. Send me a DM. And I can send you a code that gets you like $15 for free. I'll post that. I'll post it on my page also. It's sort of a little commercial here at the end, but trying something new, guys. We've done the question and answer. It'll still be there on YouTube. If you like to watch it there and question there and put your comments there, there's no change for you. If you want to sign up for Drip, I'm going to, again, put up a code for you guys that you can utilize there, get some free money. And they're going to work with me for Luca Nation, for our NFT holders, our listeners, to get kind of like bonus codes also. But I think it'd be cool. It's a cool way for you guys, while you're interacting, for me to kind of also give you some stuff. You know what I mean? Give you some cards. I've been putting stuff together. Can't do that really on YouTube. Here, if you sign up, I have your mailing address. It's nice. It's easy. And I'll be able to kind of, it'll be interactive. And I think maybe going forward, we might be able to do that. Maybe do some trivia events. Have some question and answer and fun stuff on Drip. Anyway, so there's my bear case for the hobby. 28 episodes in the book. I will see you guys Friday the 23rd at 6 for Coffee with Cage on Drip and YouTube. Thanks, everybody.